The year of 2014. Desperate game developer released a small game in shadow of his previous game's failure. This game was Five Nights at Freddy's, and it take over the world. The results of easy-to-copy formula that allowed to make next installment in months. Simple yet hard gameplay made attractive for even the most skillless of YouTubers to make videos of it and spread over YouTube. And lastly, the thing that keeps this forsaken series alive for ages untold: the lore.
Hello Internet, welcome to Game Theory!
Vague and on the side, left to be found and then decipher, has made people obsessed with it. Now, 11 years later, there are a dozen more games in the FNaF series. Lore expanded over spin-offs, books, and God knows what else. The old is getting forgotten. The foundation on which everything has been built upon come to ruin. And this makes it impossible to look forward to the new with understanding. And so, let's take a look back at the Freddy Fazbear Pizza, and without any further ado, let's collect the puzzle piece by piece and put them back together one more time. Not much is known about time before FNaF 1. All that there is left is Kickstarter page and trailer posted on it. A failed fundraising which earned $0 brings however quite interesting view at early iteration of Five Nights at Freddy's, as we can read on it, putting you in the role of a security guard working the night shift at a local pizza place which features 3 large robotic mascots, which makes up for an image different from what we can see in the full release of the game, namely lack of 4th animatronic, Foxy the Pirate, as he is both missing from the trailer and the short description. This could be explained by saying that he was a late addition to the game, though, as seen in FNaF's Steam page, this will also be a hint for the fact that for the time in which FNaF took place, Foxy was hidden from published image and isn't even mentioned in job security guard description as seen there. We are greeted with help wanted poster inside of a local newspaper for a job in Freddy Fazbear Pizza as a night guard, with basic job description, payment and standard fine print stating that the company isn't responsible for injury or dismemberment of their workers. Nothing to worry about, we are dealing here with basic robbers, so be ready to give your worthless life for the servitude for our greatest CAO. After that we begin our first shift, and we get an introductory phone call from our company representative, from which we can learn about a few important things. First, that the guy who phoned us is a previous night guard who had worked on this position for multiple weeks, so we have here a professional on the duty, and if he can survive the night, we can surely too. Second is a close-up on the company policy on accidents inside of their facility. It stated that they firstly read of any evidence inside of their location and only then they call the police. So you know, don't think that your family will get any kind of insurance money if case of your going missing. Yeah, going missing. Third, that the animatronics were used for around 20 years before the recordings were made, which is a bit early in time as the first animatronic entertainment in our world were used first in late 70s. Though they themselves were in creation since Walt Disney and his team started working on audio animatronics in 60s, and a few years later they already were finished and used in Disney World. But they were rather immobile and way less advanced, so we can say that in general, technology at work here is way more advanced than the one we had back in time. Then the bite of 87 is mentioned, in which somebody on a day shift got attacked by one of the Freddy's furry gang.
Was that the bite of 87?
And lastly, the phone guy tries to explain why we are being attacked by the animatronics. What's more important than the explanation he gives is the way it's communicated. The wording as most likely and generally suited while speaking sounds more unsure, as if the company itself didn't know what is going on with their shop. The rest of the night goes completely without a problem, and animatronics barely moved and showed little aggression toward us. Night 2, starting with another recording from our beloved predecessor in which he explains the gameplay mechanics a bit and downplays the endangerment that we are constantly exposed to. The difficulty of the night raises as the Fox animatronics start to bomb rush us and we start to see things out of place, posters changing, weird instances of "it's me" replacing text, or straight up showing upon our own vision, obscuring it. Clearly something or someone is trying to talk to us through this, to notify presence. Night 3, another message from the phone guy. Not much is told there, again trying to deny the obvious danger. All the while we can see growing fear for his life, as he tries to find a way to keep himself safe. While of this, Freddy becomes quirky at night and finally moves his ass from the stage to get hours for himself. Night 4, the phone guy died. In his final moments, he just asked for us to check the empty suit in the back room, knowing well enough what will happen to him. But even then, despite of the close of doors that kept holding every animatronic trying to get in, something else entered and attacked him, and then the call ended on the scream. Later this night, in the mid-breaks of fending off the killer animatronics, we browsed through the cover trying to find the location of them, and something strange happened. On one of cameras, the rule poster has changed to different pages of newspaper, all of them regarding Freddy Fazbear Pizza. One about two kids disappearing inside of a back room, and while men who lead those two inside there was identified, the children themselves were never found. Second one, the man strikes again, this time dressed as one of the spare suits. He had led 3 more children into the back room, and yet again, bodies were not found. Third, animatronics started to bleed and odor emanated from the insides of them. Police searched them up. Inside, reanimated carcasses. The bodies were finally found. And the last, the pizzeria will close at the end of the year, but as the CEO of the company said, this character will live on. A clear story of ruin was displayed to us to see, for whatever reason that is. Night 5. Surprisingly, there is another call. It's inhuman, demonic in nature, distorted and mixed with screams. But there is a message inside of it. If reversed and slowed down, it gave us this.
The mad agricultural development is needed by fully using your marvelous mechanism. Would it not be easily possible to employ some of them in quick laboratory equipment to indicate the influence of various hyperbolize on plant growth. You are right. Apples usually made by cute and array. Seldom knows and perennial. The joy of creating.
This is a quote from autobiography of Yogi, namely chapter 8. India's great scientist, C.J. Bose, in which the mythic of Yogi and the Bose comes to a place where his finding about nature of the matter was written down. Speculations about living metal. To my amazement, I found boundary lines vanishing and points of contrast emerging between the realms of the living and the non-living. A universal reaction seemed to bring metal, plant and animal under a common law. They all exhibited essentially the same phenomena of fatigue and depression, with possibilities of recovery and of exaltation. This explained the animatronics, weird hallucination, and all of the paranormal stuff we experienced so far. The murders that took place in here made the animatronic possessed, the metal endoskeletons gaining the properties of the living, their anguish, their misery, their anger, with the desire of getting their justice. The week has come to an end. We guys are promised $120 and we can go our way. But we stayed for more. No more phone calls, no more surprises. For 2 more nights we fight off the animatronics at their most sweetie of attempts at getting to us. But we prevailed. Night 6 is over, another paycheck. Following it, one more final night. We cover both doors as we are attacked from both sides, as Bonnie and Chica stalk the doors. Freddy is creeping on the right and Foxy back on the left every minute. We flash the light, close the doors into their faces, look through the cameras aiming onto Foxy, but with a single slip of a finger, we set it a different camera. A poster, but it seems different. It shows some kind of golden Freddy. We look away, just to see in horror. Something else has entered the office. We stare into the abyss of peace-bare eye holes. And as our mind has blurred with darkness, the voice started to yell once again at us. It's me. Over and over again. And with last remains of our consciousness, we look away from it. And once our eyes stared back to our desk, it was gone. And shortly after, the night was over. After that, we were laid off. Pink notice of termination, cause of our dismissal. Tampering with animatronics. Unprofessionalism. Odor. And like that, it's over. Okay, so all cards are on the hand. We can put them into order. So here goes FNaF timeline for the 7,023rd time ever. Late 60s or early 70s. Opening of Freddy Fazbear's brand. Then the restaurant flourished till the infamous year of 87, when a forehead surgery was made by one of the animatronics, which resulted in a restriction of the animatronics movement from the stage during the day. This was a massive hit to the franchise, earning and popularity. Then, few years later, a series of tragedies happened. In total, 5 children went missing, later to be found stuffed into the animatronic suits. That lowered the movement inside the Freddy Fazbear to the point where it was no longer making enough money to be able to prosper any longer. and it was to be closed at the end of the year. The game takes place between finding of the bodies and the final closing of the restaurant. So, as we are done with the timeline, we can go down to specific topics that aren't said in game, like the actual year in which the events included in the game took place in. We know only one specific date from the game, that is the 1978, so FNaF 1 must happen after that. From the paycheck, we know that it was allowed to work for hourly payment of $4 after taxation, which limits the year further, as it will be illegal to pay an employee this little after 96. Now it gives us about year gap from 88 to 95, in which the game may take place. Can we reduce it further? I would say it's rather in the 90s rather than 80s, as phone guys hate that the animatronics were in use for 20 years, which would make more sense if this was closer to mid-70s, when animatronics would be way more popular, than to suspect that FNaF animatronics were created in the late 60s when the technology was still introduced to usage. Another thing is the fate of the murderer, who was mentioned twice in the game. After first murder, when he was captured but the police could not prove his guilt, and then when after second incident which he was cast off, meaning that the man behind the slaughter must have been released after his first act and then returned to commit it again, and due to lack of another statement of his recapture, I suspect that he was not found by the police this time. Instead, he is still roaming free. At the last, and perhaps most importantly to the game as a whole, is the person of Mike Schmidt, the guy we play as. And by this regard, the main character of first Five Nights at Freddy. We know little about him. Mostly that he was interested in working in Freddy Fazbear Pizza despite the obvious danger in it. Second, that he had interest in messing with animatronics. And third, that one specific soul is interested in him. The point where it intentionally leaves cues on what happened in the pizzeria. The one who says, "It's me." It's Golden Freddy. A soul that takes paranormal form, breaking the rules, and just appearing in our office with or without our door being closed. Upon whose jumpscare we aren't even killed, and the game over doesn't show up. Instead our game crashes, leaving the fate of Mike uncertain. From this, we can conclude that Mike must have some specific connection to Golden Freddy. What is it? It's not said. He must be at least 16 to work at Freddy's, so he can be one of his friends. So maybe a relative? His father? Or older brother? The video ends here. The second one that I made, actually. I think it's better than the previous one, so no more 8-minute long silence with empty gameplay. So that's the improvement. I also started to turn the volume of my audio after recording, so yeah, this should help a bit. You know, trying to understand me and all. Other than that, yeah, if you have any idea to make this shit better to watch, don't hesitate, you know, comment and say whatever you think is right to say, you know. Yeah. Anyway, I wanted to thank you for watching and see you next time. Goodbye.